You'll notice that most of the attacks we've shown so far are attacks from the front. The reason for this is I want to emphasize the importance of situational awareness and distance management. If you see someone coming, then you can keep your hands up, you can move effectively, try and defend. We'll get into surprise attacks later on as well, when we get into bear hugs from behind, the choke from behind, things like that, where you just don't see somebody coming. But if you do see them coming, usually you can do that check down list of early defense, late defense, oh no defense, right? So we just saw what happens if Jesse tries to bear hug me and he keeps his hands under my arms. But there's also a situation where maybe I got surprised, I was looking at something, and he gets my hands over the arms. Now the real danger here, the danger here is that Jesse will either be able to pull my hips to him and fold me, or be able to lift me up, right? Yeesh. So if he can control my hips, he can lift me, and I can't have that. So what I need to do is keep his hips away from my hips. So I'm gonna drop in base, and my palms are gonna go against his hip bones. I'm not gonna reach to put my hands against his hip bones, but believe me, he's trying to collapse my hips, so they're gonna come anyway. So I'm gonna drop in base, put my hands against his hips. If he tries to close that distance, see how my frames keep him away from me. My fingers are pointed out and the heels of my hands are in. I am gonna pick a side, the side my head is on, to try to get around to the left. As I get around to the left, I'm gonna keep this hand on his hip, and I'll show you why in a second. So as I get around to the left, I put my shoulder under his armpit. The reason, I'll show you why we keep this hand on the left in a second. Now we wanna return the favor of taking him down. You can do a rear trip here, which I'll show you next, but the thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do a hip throw. So I'm gonna step back in, and only now do I take my hand off his hip. My hips go low, and we throw him, and we go to our impact control posture with my hand on his elbow and my knee on his ribs. Let's do that from this angle. Maybe you come to this side. So Jesse comes in, I get surprised. Uh-oh, if I do nothing, I'm gonna get lifted up or folded. My palms are turned toward him, and the heels of my hands are inside, and I go against his hip. I'm gonna shuck to one side, shoulder to his armpit, come around back. You see how this hand continues to stay on his hip? The reason for that is if I go for the throw, if I take my hand off his hip, then Jesse's just he'll either turn and face, right? Or he'll just get away from me. And that's not something I want when I want to complete the throw. So, Jesse grabs, palms to his hip bones. That stops him from folding me in half and getting me in a takedown. Shuck to the side, grab. They can take the hand out and cup the elbow under, come under and cup the elbow. Either way, however we control the elbow. Step, step, throw. One last time with a different finish. So when we're doing these hip throws, it's really important that my feet are fairly close together in the same direction. My butt goes down and swivels under his hips so that I can lift him with my hips. It's the way that smaller people can lift up bigger, stronger, more aggressive people. Sometimes this doesn't work, right? Sometimes we don't have the confidence in our ability to do that, or we're like that person is too big, et cetera, et cetera. So instead, what we can do is my foot is gonna go behind his heel. I'm just gonna sit. Now we take the fight to the ground with us on top. When we take the fight to the ground with us on top, we then have the ability to control that dominating position or get up and get out. It's all up to y'all. So to recap, early defense, don't let him grip you. If he is able to grip you, keep your frame to stop him from locking his hands. If he does lock his hands, we can't let them pull our hips in, which is why we have to have our frames on his hip bone. From there, we can do the rear trip or we can do the throw.